Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. So, I'm here today to talk about something a little different from APIs and code. It's how we run hackathons here at Algolia and why they're not just fun side projects, but they really have been a engine for driving innovation that impacts both our product, our platform, and our customers. My name's Joni Khattar. I'm a senior product manager here on the data platform side. So, what sparked our drive to start hackathons earlier this year? Myself and my engineering team and some subject matter experts around the business were trying to figure out how we could make an impact with some of our new features that we'd launched around data transformations and the fetch enrichment capabilities. And so it was really born out of frustration around how do we make an impact? How do we get people noticing these features, using them, trying them out, giving us feedback? So we decided that, hang on, why don't we actually put together a hack day so that everybody could have a dedicated amount of time to try out the features, think about novel ways that they could be using data transformations and our fetch capabilities, and allow us to get some feedback and also help people just be onboarded and be aware of how the features work. Yeah, we decided to kind of not only set up a hack day, but actually create a blueprint so that we could run hack days in different parts of the business or across different subjects on more of a regular basis. So we decided to put together that framework. My colleague Alex and I. So, what was the prep beforehand? It started with getting a task force together. So, we knew that between Alex and I, we had some ideas and we could be the driving force behind getting things done. But we wanted to reach out to some other people around the business to get some feedback, as well as just the business in general. So, we formed a bit of a task force where we had different people involved, created a Slack channel. We then needed to secure some approvals and leadership support. We had a small budget in mind that would take care of, lunch vouchers and some small prizes for the day. And so we set about just to kind of let the some key ELT members know what we're doing, what the impact would be, the rationale, and just to get some support. And then, of course, we had to just set a date in the future. At Algolia, we have no meeting Wednesdays. We call it Deep Work Day. And so we decided to take a date a couple of months out in advance to give ourselves some time on one of those deep work days. We knew it would be a no meeting day for the company. And so it would give ample opportunity for those wanting to join the hack day to join in. So, participant setup. What we wanted to do was before we sort of engineered how the hack day was going to be executed, we wanted to get a bit of feedback from, you know, engineers, customer success people, sales teams, the whole company. And so we put out a hackathon survey to gauge interest on topics on the approach to running the hack day. We wanted to get a sense of how we were going to form teams. Algolia is a global company, but we are a remote first company. So while we have hubs across different cities and different countries, we wanted to make sure that there was fair participation for everybody, whether they were going to be in a hub or not. And yeah, of course, we needed to confirm judges and like a scorecard criteria. So we had a few ideas in mind around who would be good judges, and we wanted to have like a diverse range of judges from different parts of the business. And so yeah, we set about to ask if those particular judges wanted to join in, and then created the scorecard criteria. So, getting things enabled for getting people ready and enablement for the day. Again, multiple time zones. So we wanted to do this in a way which wasn't going to mean that anybody was going to miss out. So we pre-recorded a kind of run through kickoff call for the day of the hack day. What this did is it means that in the time zone that you're in, when you start your day on that kind of Wednesday, you were going to be able to consume the recording of the introduction as well as a kind of README file that we kind of set up. So this is really kind of having everything in one place. It was sort of, you know, here's what you need to do, here's what you need to submit, here's any resources you need to get familiar with the feature. Here's some other additional sort of videos you can watch. Here's our docs page, for example. We ran the hack days so that you would get the full day in your given time zone. So if you're in Australia, you were going to start first and obviously fold into Europe and then to North America. So everybody got the same amount of time. It was just that day. And everybody was asked to submit by midnight of their time zone, their project. We needed to make sure that everybody could have ample time to have lunch, but we wanted to make it a bit of an incentive to join the Hack Day. So we, created vouchers for everybody, and we used actually Uber Eats for those vouchers. So as part of basically kind of the execution of the days, we needed to kind of very carefully, obviously, store everybody's submission. So we asked everybody to submit a series of criteria, either it would be a demo or a GitHub file, or it could be a presentation or any kind of prototype. And so there was different points for submitting different artifacts, and I'll go through the scorecard criteria in just a minute. For the actual announcement of the winner, what we wanted to do was use the opportunity for the next company all hands to announce the winner and the runner up. And so we prepared some slides and content and got all of that sort of together, as well as obviously having our judges have some time to be able to go through kind of the projects. I think we had about 19 projects submitted in the end. Each team was around 14 members. And so therefore the judges just needed a bit of time to sort of like look at the criteria and obviously score everybody. And then, of course, post hackathon, we wanted to be able to document all the feedbacks. As part of our criteria for the scorecard, we offered bonus points for providing feedback on bugs or just general like UX feedbacks. And so we wanted to document some of that and get some of this into our backlog so that we could really action the great feedback that came from the hack day. So how the day went, we had like 19 projects that sort of started. The flow of the day was that we had the kickoff in the morning. The judges had their criteria available to them to review. Everybody was sort of building throughout the day. You could use as much time as you wanted throughout the day. So we didn't actually prescribe that it had to be a full day. Maybe you were taking a half day. It was really up to you. And then everybody submitted their one pager, their artifacts. So they had to document sort of the problem statement, the solution, the target persona, and then just give a brief sort of demonstration in some way. So we had 4 judges that would independently look through the scorecard and look through all 19 projects. And they would go and sort of rate each of those projects based on this criteria. So it was like team collaboration, one-page quality, the artifacts submitted, bonus points, as I said, for being able to tell us about any bugs. Um, we consolidated those scores. So once the judges had reviewed all the projects, they submitted their scores. We then did a consolidation. And then, of course, we had the extra points for providing feedback. And that was a lot of that was shared on the Slack. And so the winning team was something that we've recently implemented into the product itself, into data transformations. It was really about taking on one of the key use cases, which is today customers have a hard time being able to compute or calculate custom ranking scores on a combination of different criteria. And so what this team did was show a really easy pathway into having a very specific helper function that allowed for them to sort of build out that custom ranking score, but also in a very no-code way. So our first version of data transformations was a code editor. It was quite technical, but this team was suggesting, hey, if we could put this into a more business-friendly way, then it would really empower sort of stakeholders beyond the developers within an organization. So that was really the winning team. There were so many great ideas and projects. And so on the back of that, actually, we had started the initiative to look at the no-code data transformation work. And so some of these ideas and the ideas from this team influence what we put into production and into GA at the end of July, which is our no-code data transformations feature, which you can see within the data sources within the Data Hub. So the announcement day, this is kind of what it looked like. We had like the top 5 projects, we had our winner, we had a runner-up. We really wanted to give that recognition to team members, just sort of really shout about all the great ideas. And yeah, I mean, when I think about the outcomes, I mean, not only was it like 19 great ideas and demos and prototypes, as I said, we who picked up the idea. We've put a lot of the ideas, in fact, all the ideas and all the feedbacks into the roadmap. And some of them we're actively actioning and had done in sort of Q2 and into sort of the future quarters now. But it really kind of created a great sense of like collaboration and not only just collaboration within like product and engineering, really that cross organizational collaboration. Um, ideas exist in all corners of the business. They don't just exist within R&D or in product engineering minds. And so, it was really great to see, people in support, people in, marketing, people in sort of, sales teams bringing the ideas, those really connected, those really close to the customer that are speaking to customers day in, day out, bringing those ideas to the surface, really novel ideas. It's great to talk about all the things that were working well and all the great stuff that happened, but I think um, it's also worth talking about what didn't work so well for us. Initially we thought, great, let's auto assign teams because we wanted to see the diversity of team members be reflective in each team. So like one product person with somebody from support or somebody from sales or CS. The feedback we got was that people wanted to build their own teams, and so while we want to balance, so having like diversity of views in different teams, you've also got to balance that with like the fun aspect, right? People want to build with their friends, colleagues. And so that was one thing that we changed in the subsequent hackathons, which is sort of like, hey, go and self organize. But you can get bonus points if you are showing a diversity of team members in the team. The other piece that really didn't that really was quite challenging was actually the lunch vouchers and just organizing getting people lunch. So we did have some challenges as using Uber Eats. It was really just because of different time zones and different ways that Uber Eats works. It's not really any fault of Uber Eats. It's just more the nuances of different time zones and different countries and different rules. And so it ended up being quite a manual process in the background to reconcile. And so moving forward, we've sort of said, look, it'd probably just be easier for people to expense their own lunches. We have a code that they can use when they do their expenses, that finance can pick up on, hack day. And then finance can then allocate all those costs to the correct cost center. It just makes it nice and easy for everybody. All right. So I guess just to sort of sum up the impact beyond the day, as I said, tons of new ideas feeding directly into the product roadmap, tons of little gaps, little bugs that we really hadn't picked up on, stronger connections across the business. Like really, this has really broken down silos across, different parts of the organization, but even within different engineering teams, different product managers working together. Customer value was super concrete. We were hearing very interesting use cases or ideas coming from people very close to the customer, and that surfacing and becoming prototypes. And now, with the hard work that we did in that first hackathon, we have a very repeatable blueprint that we now are putting in place on a quarterly basis to run these global company hackathons. And even for any team or any part of the organization can take that playbook and make smaller versions of it. So, what would be the checklist, or what would be the if I was to summarize kind of how you could get going in your organization, how you could set up a hack day, what would be that checklist? So, number one is really set a clear purpose and scope. We created the scope to be around a new feature launch. So, it was the data transformations and fetch feature. So, it made it very specific to that particular wheelhouse. And it allowed for the team members that participated in that day to go deep into that feature and really understand how it works. Um, Planning and enablement is super critical. We gave ourselves a couple of months, about 8 weeks out to set up that blueprint and go through, what is the judging criteria? What should this look like for the day? What are the different prep pieces that we need? Who's going to be the judges? How are we going to communicate globally across multiple time zones? So that allowed us, the time to have the planning. Of course, since then, things can be executed much faster in a sort of 3 to 4 week period. We can get things up and running now. Engage with the participants. So engage with the whole company, get their feedback on what they would like to see, what would make it fun for them. Make it really easy to sign up. Make it, there has to be a level of flexibility. Um, And of course, in this day and age where a lot of us work remote or hybrid, we've got to balance that. I think it was just making sure that both sides, whether you wanted to be in the office or not, you could still feel that it was going to be a great day. And lastly, I've already mentioned this, but yeah, make it very repeatable. So then documenting the scorecard approach, the framework for the day in terms of like what pieces of information and even how you're going to convey and update on the winners and the announcements. So just to sort of finalize on my kind of last slide, closing slide here is why would you want to put hackathons on in your business? It really allowed us to create a space for creativity, for ideas. I think it got us away from the humdrum slog of the backlog and the roadmap. And it's easy to sort of fall into this like, oh, I've got to do these things and not necessarily getting as much time as we'd like to think a little bit more creatively, to ideate, to take time to learn something new. So it really is like creating that space. It's an absolute must, in my opinion. Building connections, with us being so online these days, it's easy to feel a bit disconnected. This really, even though I mean, the first hackathon I was actually remote, um, but I really felt quite connected to other team members and got to know other team members that I wouldn't have necessarily had a chance to get to know. And it was really lovely. And all of this has a direct impact on the product, on the value that that product brings, on really making sure and understanding that the features that we're working on and the roadmap that we have is in alignment with what customers are looking for. So, again, thank you so much for listening to my talk, and I wish you a happy hacking.